There is comfort in repetitive movement. A yogi would say, I am practicing yoga. Perfection is never the goal. The process and what we learn about ourselves along the way is what matters. Stitching is like that. We carefully select our fabric, choose just the right floss, and we gather our tools, the scissors and needles. Then we take a seat in our favorite chair and begin to stitch. The needle goes into the fabric and comes back out. It goes in and comes back out. Stitch by stitch, we make beauty and find comfort as we stitch. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Comfort Stitching. This is FlossTube episode, what am I at? Number 8. How about that? This is Archie. I'm Jackie. Nice to see you. I told you I'd bring him on this time to say hi, and here he is. You can see he's doing fine. A little bit shaggy. He has an appointment with to have a spa day on Monday to get a little tidy up after his surgery. He's gotten a little shaggy until I felt like he was healed enough with his leg that he had surgery on before we could take him to get a good haircut. He needs it. Anyway, here's Archie. All right, he wants to leave now. All right, there. He always has to shake it off after we do that. So as I said, FlossTube episode 8. How about that? Welcome back. Gosh, it's been 3 weeks since I saw you, and I feel like so much has happened. It's been a roller coaster. Some of it good, some of it not so good. I may talk about that. It actually is not really necessary. Just know that, like all of you, I suffer highs or go through the highs, which are great, but also some low points too. And this week has been, we'll just say, challenging. And I'm really glad I've had my stitching to keep me sane in some cases, but definitely to help me be balanced. And there were a couple of nights where I just came to my stitching just as a way of staying present instead of letting my mind go off in a bunch of different directions. So let's talk about what's been going on, especially the high stuff, because I do want to share that with you particularly. Last Saturday, I had my first Stitchy meetup that I hosted, and I'm so excited some of you actually came. So let me back up. It was in the shop Flora Legion, which most of you know is right downstairs from where I live. I've featured the store Flora Legion on my channel before. I've done a little video walkthrough. So, and the owner, Gretchen, and I have talked many times about how she wanted to have more people come into her store, and she's got spaces in there where she has tables and comfy chairs for people to just gather. And that was something she wanted to be able to do more of. So I said, how about I arrange something? Would that be okay? And she said, more than okay, do it, please. So I found a spot on the calendar, and that was last Saturday, October 19th. And I just put it out on my Instagram. So I thought about talking about it on here, but, and I may in the future, because we definitely plan on doing more of these. But I just thought for this first one, I just put it out on my Instagram, just come and stitch with me, and put the date and the time and the place. And I just wanted to see who would come. And some of you have local meetup groups in your towns or in your area, and well established, but in this neck of the woods, there isn't anything like that. And I'm just outside of the greater Kansas City metro area, and I know down in Lee Summit, Missouri, the Shop Quilters Station, which some of you have been to their retreats and been to their store, they have a monthly Stitchy group. But that's over an hour away from me. And I was talking to Christine Hollis of Hollis Hands Creates. She lives in the Kansas City area, to see if there was anything kind of in this area we talk about north of the Missouri River and south of the Missouri River. And I was asking Christine if there was any Stitchy meetups north of the Missouri River. And she said, as far as she knew, there wasn't anything. And so it just planted a seed in my mind. Maybe we could get something going, which is why I didn't necessarily talk about it on here and just put it on Instagram, because I was really hoping that I would get some local people to come. And I also posted in a local Facebook group that my town has, and actually had one local person come, which was wonderful. And a surprise, because I've known this woman for many of the years that I've lived in Weston, but I had no idea she was a stitcher. Not only as a stitcher, but the week before she was at Hobby House for the British Sampler Weekend coming to America. So who knew I had somebody right in my own town that loved samplers that much that she went to retreats. So that was a happy surprise. So anyway, let me back up then. I arranged and organized this meetup with Gretchen, and I had many people on Instagram saying, I want to come, I'll be there, wish I could, but I'm too far away, that kind of thing. And so I really didn't have much of an idea of who would be coming or how many would be coming. And 14 people showed up. I was so surprised. And not only that, some of y'all who came were from quite a ways away. I had Krista, the wildflower stitcher, came all the way here from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I had a gal who I know on Instagram, Lois Hills Needleworks. She came down from Omaha, Nebraska. There were a sister-in-law and her sisters-in-law, one from up near the Missouri-Iowa border and the other one from South Missouri. They decided to do a meet together and make it here in Weston and come. And then they spent the night in a town nearby and just had some sister time. And then I had several from the greater Kansas City area and the lady, like I said, from the town right here. And one of my coworkers and my friend Jeannie that I used to work with at Hallmark, and she brought her sister Barb, and they don't cross stitch, but they do punch needle. So they were sitting and doing some punch needling. So it was just a really wonderful time, you guys. And it was so successful in a variety of ways. And it was really nice just to see what everybody was working on, what they were enthused about, what they were interested in. And it was just an awesome gathering of friends and hopefully the start of something really nice to have another stitching place, a gathering, and maybe it will become, I don't know how regular. It's going to be dependent, of course, on what Gretchen's schedule is and what mine is, because sometimes I do have to work on Saturday mornings, but we're going to definitely try again. And so if you don't follow me on Instagram, I'm just going to encourage you right now to please do that, because I'll post about it there first. And even if you're leery of Instagram or social media, I'm telling you, it's Instagram for us stitchers, people who enjoy stitching and want to be inspired by what other people are stitching. It's a great place to be. You don't even have to post if you don't want to, but just follow the pages of some of the people you like. And I really think you'd find so much inspiration there. But you also hear about some of these kinds of things through Instagram too. So anyway, that was that. Oh, I do want to say, I got a little stitchy kindness from one of the people who came. This wonderful little pin cushion that's on a ball jar lid. This was from a gal named Bonnie. She's the one who came down from the Missouri-Iowa border. And she said she just thought this ball jar, she has heard me talk about my mom and my grandma, and she thought that ball jar lid would likely remind me of them, and it certainly does. And so thank you, Bonnie, for that really sweet little gift. So far, it's been sitting on my stitching tray with all of my current working threads that I've been using. So that was just so much fun, and definitely we'll do it again. And hopefully some more of you can come. And if you can't come in person, you'll come in spirit. I know that. So anyway, thank you everybody for that. And speaking of thank yous, I want to thank everybody for all of the comments, likes, and subscribes, and all of that too for the videos. But I had so many of you comment after my last video complimenting my Consider the Lilies sampler, the framing, and the Mathilde sampler, the framing. And thank you so much. I do want to say that no, I'm not going to become a designer. A lot of you have asked about that or say, I foresee that in your future. Been there, done that. I mean, not cross-stitch designing for sure, but most of my life has been in the commercial illustration and art business. And I've lived on deadlines and having to be creative on deadlines. And while it is exciting and fun and interesting to be able to make your living doing something that you really love to do, right now I love stitching. I love the act of stitching. And if designing something makes its way into the project I'm working on, I'm happy about that. But I really don't foresee that I'm going to get into the designing aspect of things anytime soon. So thank you. But no thanks for now. I've had some people reach out to me and want me, ask me about the colors of the flosses I used in Consider the Lilies, or whether or not I would share some of the motifs that I came up with. And I am sharing those with people. So if that's something you were interested in and didn't know if you could ask, should ask, or you were afraid to ask, whatever, I'm happy to share those things with you. So you can just reach out to me at my email, which I always post in the description box below, or on my Instagram, direct message me over there, and I'm happy to share that stuff with you. Anything I'm working on that I'm altering or changing, and you want to know about it, and you're not getting enough information here in the video, or I do post fairly regularly on Instagram, just reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you about what I'm doing, what my thought process is, help you out with something. I'm happy to have those conversations. That's been one of the great delights for me with starting this channel, is the communication and the comments that I get from so many of you after the videos. You have such thoughtful and kind things to say, and it really does touch my heart. So I do appreciate that. I want to talk today, obviously, about the updates on the projects that I've been working on. I do have some happy mail that I'm so excited to receive, and I'll share. I do have a giveaway winner for the Barbara Anna Four Seasons kit that I'm giving away. And I'm going to end today with a poem. And I'm going to pause briefly. I'll be right back. But Archie is calling me. He wants help on the bed. So I'm going to pause briefly, and I'll be back. There. Got him safely up on the bed. He's still not jumping up there on his own, which I'm happy about. Every now and then he still has little twinges where I can see that he's overdone things a little bit after his surgery, and because he'll pick up his the leg he had surgery on and limp a little bit. For the most part, he's doing really, really well though. So anyway, safely on the bed now. He won't talk to us, I doubt, unless somebody's outside. It is Saturday in Weston, Missouri, on a beautiful autumn day, and there's always going to be people in town on a Saturday in Weston. So let's talk about stitching, shall we? I think that's the way Stephanie of Just Keep Stitching always says, let's talk about stitching. So I got some progress I want to tell you. I've only worked on 2 things since you saw me, rather than 3. Poor Antoinette got no love in the last 3 weeks. So I'm sorry, Antoinette. I promise next time you see me, I'll have some progress on her. But I'm going to start by talking about Julia Rachel de la Mare. And get my project bag over here and get the bits out, because there's been progress on her and just some information that I want to share on that one. And this one I keep in a Stitch Folk bag that was made for me by Barry. So Julia Rachel de la Mare is a reproduction of an antique sampler by Kathleen Littleton of Cross Stitch Antiques. Beautiful sampler. This one has been hard to get. It's part of a club put out by Country Sampler in Spring Green, Wisconsin. And it was part of their Threads of History Club, but they did make some charts available to folks who were not part of that club. I know that up until November 1st, so if you're still seeing me before November 1st, you have an opportunity to pre-order and get yourself one of these. So go to the Country Sampler website for that. So let me show you what I have gotten done. I think the last time we chatted, I had the bones of the border in, and I have completed the border all the way around with both colors of green, and I've started to put some flowers in. I'm going to try and hold this a little bit longer. One of you commented that I move things around too much, so I'm going to try and do that. You know, when you're filming, I just moved it, but when you're filming, you feel like you're holding things forever. And I know as a viewer of FlossTubes, maybe it's not long enough, maybe it's never long enough, but anyway, here's Julia. And I just have that one little flower in there up at in the top left. Now I want to talk a little bit about this because there have been some updates to Julia since we talked last. So there has been a correction to the chart that Kathleen Littleton had put out, and that is available on her website, and I will put a link down below for that. And I'll tell you a little bit about what that is. And in the chart for Julia, in the upper left-hand corner, there was a mistake in the charting. Now, that mistake is not in mine. It was. And if you, like I said, if you follow me on Instagram, I think I posted that I was doing some frogging up in that area. Because prior to Kathleen putting that out, I had already discovered the mistake. And I had recharted it just for myself, and I have now fixed it. But like I said, Kathleen has now put out a supplement to the chart, and with, of course, great apologies. I can't even imagine how bad she must have felt when she discovered this. But it was only after seeing someone's finish of it at the Hobby House retreat that she was at that she really realized that mistake was there. So she's now put out a new supplement to the chart that you can download. Is, like I said, up in the is in the border in the upper left-hand corner. So if you're a left-hand upper corner start and you've already started that, you can make your decision if you want to frog or just continue. And then she had a couple of other little adjustments to some of the spacing and the motifs, as well as a thread correction, which that one we have talked about before. These are the threads, by the way, that were part of the kit. And now that's except for the bobbins of DMC that you see here. I've added to those. But this project was charted with overdyed flosses from Classic Color Works, Weeks Dye Works. There are a couple of Gentle Arts threads in here. And one of them, called Brown Bear, had a dye lot change to the point that she felt like it should be replaced, or just that you be aware of that for where that happens in the chart. She gave a optional DMC thread for that, and then made some adjustments, as I said, to a couple of the placement of a couple of the motifs. So I would recommend to everybody, this is my print off of the description of the changes, and then I've got the charting changes. But like I said, I had already made the changes myself because I had detected that and worked on recharting it. But you'll want to definitely, if you've got this chart or if you've got it on order from Country Sampler, you want to make sure you're getting the adjustments so you can make your decision if you want to make those corrections for yourself. So that was Julia. And my Julia is being stitched on the kit fabric, and this one is 40 count. It was also available with 36 count, but this is 40 count Hemingway by Needle and Flax with most of the called for threads. But if you'd followed along with me, you know that I make changes on threads. And I do that just to suit my own tastes. And, you know, this working on stitching a reproduction of an antique sampler, I think we always wonder, do we need to follow the chart faithfully? What if there's something here that maybe is not our taste or we don't quite like? Can we change it? I just keep coming back to, well, a couple of things. First of all, there are no cross-stitch police. That was something I learned early on when I came back to stitching in early 2023. No cross-stitch police. So freeing to know that. Excuse me. But secondly, this was something that I kind of have been feeling as I'm working on the other sampler that I'll show you, the Bridget Power sampler, is that the original sampler, an antique sampler, that's the journey of the person who originally stitched it. They did this. And if we want to go on the same journey, there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing that you're stitching, the interpretation that you're stitching, is your journey with her, but really with yourself. So if it's your journey, if you want to change something, you know, maybe it's okay to change it. You know, come to that decision for yourself. But I just have really been thinking about that a lot lately, that, yeah, we're stitching beautiful cross-stitch designs that someone came up with and charted, and, you know, a beautiful thing. We're attracted to them because they're beautiful and there's something about them that really speaks to us. But as we're stitching, we're having our own conversation, our own experience, and making something that's for and really about us in the moment that we're working on it. So if in the moment you feel like, you know what, I need to change that color, or I need to change the shape of that thing, or I need to put somebody else's initials here, or I need to do this or that thing slightly differently, I don't think you're disrespecting the designer or the original stitcher. I think you're respecting yourself. So anyway, off my soapbox. That's my story for today. It's of course subject to change, right? As I learn, because, you know, I'm relatively new to this. I stitched in the late 80s and early 90s, like many people. Came back to this, so many of you I know came back to cross-stitching during COVID. For me, it was a little later than that. As I said, in early 2023, I stumbled on my first FlossTube video and thought, wow, cross-stitching has sure changed. So I'm learning and growing with this, like all of you are. And I don't think there's any one hard and fast rule about stitching or making things. You're learning about yourself as you're doing it. And you should be receiving pleasure and joy from your stitching. And if there's something about it that doesn't feel good, why continue with it? Why keep doing it that way when you could make it feel better for you? So anyway, that's my little story. Reaching over here to put Julia away. There, hopefully she won't fall. So that's my story on that. And I will, like I said, I'm going to put a link down below for Kathleen's Cross Stitch Antiques website, so that you could just click on that and go there in order to find the adjustments to the chart. So now, Bridget Power. You know, y'all have been following along with me for quite a while now. I've been working on this sampler. I'm dropping threads, excuse me. Since I have, I always try and make a note on my floss ring what the name of the chart is, what my fabric is, and when I began this. I started Bridget on March 17th of this year, and I'm finally winding down with her. I don't know if this is a long time to be working on a sampler or not, but it's taking the time that it takes to do. Let me show you, first of all, the cover of the chart. This is a reproduction sampler as well by GGR, Bridget Power, 1840 by GGR. This is the antique that is on the cover of this chart. And if you've been with me for a while, we've talked about this a lot, how the antique is not the best representation necessarily of what you're going to stitch if you buy this. And I'm so pleased that so many of you have decided to start your own journey with Bridget after seeing what mine has been like. So anyway, that's the cover. And let me show you now where I'm at. So beautiful vase of flowers, that archway, beautiful floral border, and you can see I've got quite a bit of the altar in, which is what I have added since you saw me last. So let me fold this a little bit. So there we are. Get up close. You can see the tabernacle is now all complete, and I have started to fill in the altar there. This is an altar cloth, which will have a grape cluster here and on the other side of this monstrance. And then there's a rug still to be put in here. And I'm using mostly the called for colors. I have made some corrections. Again, those are posted on my Instagram page. I put up a picture in the last video of the corrections I've made. This is mostly the called for DMCs, and these are my alterations. They're beautiful, beautiful flosses. So vibrant. And I think this basket of flowers is really what has attracted so many people to this sampler. And I know that some of you are just stitching the basket of flowers, which is wonderful. And I know one person who has decided they're going to go ahead. They had originally thought they would just stitch the flowers until they saw the rest of this coming in, and now they've decided they're going to do the whole thing. So anyway, that's that. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the altar and, again, a change that I'm now making. I think in my last video, I'm recalling that I said to you, I was in this area, in the altar area, and I was starting to get really conflicted about it because I had kind of wanted to make a few charting changes, but I wasn't quite sure about that until I had that conversation with myself, and in a way, a conversation with Bridget about how she would feel if I did that. And that may seem really weird, but if you followed my journey with Bridget all this time, you know that I do feel like I've been in a conversation with her. And sometimes she's very vocal, and I really do feel like I'm talking to her or hearing from her. Sometimes she's very silent, like who she was, how can I find her? And there, just for those of you, again, who have been following along, I do have a little new information, but until I can get it confirmed, I don't feel like I can talk about it. Yeah, I just don't feel like I should share yet. But there is a little bit of news on her front. I just need to confirm it, if I can. And that's being worked on by my friend Angie, the Tiny House Stitcher, who's doing some genealogy. But anyway, one of the changes I wanted to make was right here in the tabernacle. I'm going to try and hold that. And you can see there's a sacred heart in there. And that's some over one stitching, y'all. That Sacred Heart is not in the original chart, but part of my life journey does include the image and the connection to the Sacred Heart. And while I'm not Catholic, I am very attracted to sacred objects of not only Catholicism, but other faith traditions as well. I just happen to have a lot of images of the Sacred Heart around me. And I just felt like in the tabernacle, for those of you who don't know, this is an area where on a Catholic altar, the host, the communion host, would generally be kept. And then a monstrance also is where the host is sometimes displayed. And I did change that ever so slightly. I don't know if you can see that. I put a little cross right in the center of that. But anyway, Jesus is housed there in the tabernacle. And I just felt like I needed to put I think the most obvious depiction of Jesus' intense love for all of us. And I'm not trying to get religious to you all. If that's not your thing, that's not your thing. But I think we all could agree that there is something greater than us out there. And so whatever form that something greater takes for you, that's wonderful. Wherever you feel that connection. I think it's important, especially in challenging times, to be reminded of those connections. And so the Sacred Heart does it for me. And that's why I wanted to put it there. And so, yeah, I did stitch that over one. It was challenging, but I got it done. And then down here in the altar, the way this is charted, the clusters of grapes are both going in the same direction, which to me, that always looked a little bit odd. And so I'm shifting those so that they face in towards the monstrance in the center. And I'm going to show you the chart here because I'm just going to show you my change. And I'm recharting because Bridget was a bit of a show-off, I think. She had a lot of over one stitching in her original sampler. Quite honestly, I don't want to do. And in some cases, I don't think it's really necessary to convey the symbols that are being conveyed. So here's the chart. You can see I'm making some changes there just with my coloring, and this in the chart is all over one, y'all. It's over one in there, and even the background color, the fill-in, she put it in over one, which, like I said, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just not. And this leaf too, that's all over one. All over one. So just a pre-warn for those of you who are doing it. You can either choose to do that over one, or maybe you'll do like I did and decide to shift it. So I've redesigned the leaf. I've got one done here, and now I've got a picture of it in my phone. So I'm just going to flip it and put it over here. And then the grapes, I'm going to try and do those in mostly full crosses instead of over one, and maybe some half stitches. So I'm still, that's yet to be determined, which is why I don't have it done yet, because I haven't felt like I could do it. So just a little Archie interruption there. Sorry about that. There's people in town. It's Saturday in Weston, and there's people in town, and he decided he had to do his job of security detail and let me know. So what I was talking about was some adjustments that I wanted to make here in the grapes. And because this is, as I said, all over one stitching, and I'm going to try and do that with more complete crosses and maybe some half stitches. And then I'll be able to fill in this background around those grapes with more full crosses. And so, yeah, that was kind of part included in the conversation I was having with Bridget, not just the addition of the Sacred Heart there, but about feeling like, could I make those changes? Would it be okay, since I'm working on a reproduction? Would it be okay to make these changes? Well, who does it need to be okay with? Again, there's no cross-stitch police. It just needs to be okay with me. And so, yeah, I just kind of had that conversation with Bridget. Would you feel okay about this? And really, she kind of said to me, the antique, the one that the chart came from, that was her journey. That was part of what was happening in her life. She made that for a reason. And I hope someday to be able to share with you what that reason was, if we can discover that and have it verified. But that was her story, her journey. And my stitching of her sampler is my story. You've all been sharing it with me. But this is my story and what I've been able to discover about, not only about Bridget, but about myself as I've gone through this, what I have learned. And it's ever evolving. And even the idea that I'm now going to make these changes and feel okay about it. Because Bridget doesn't have to approve, although I think she would be okay with it. But it just has to satisfy me, and I'm cool with that. The symbols are still going to be there. The grapes are still there, going to be there. It just stitched in a slightly different way. So you can see all I've got left is the finishing up there, and there is a rug, a carpet, if you will, that is down here at the bottom. And I'm looking for a stitch completion maybe at the end of the year. I hope so. But anyway, there we go. One more time. Bridget Power, 1840. A girl that had a lot of creativity, deep devotion to her faith, and definitely to beauty. And I think joy. If you can't see joy in that basket of flowers, there's definite joy there. So that's Bridget Power, 1840. And I'm so glad so many of you have decided to take your own journey with Bridget. And either you're stitching her now or you're going to begin stitching her in the near future. You've got, some of you I know have told me you've got her in your plans for sure. So I'm just, again, checking my notes. So I'm going to move on now from stitching because that's all I've got. Like I said, I don't have any progress to show you on Antoinette. She didn't get any attention in the last 3 weeks because I was planning that gathering, working on the changes that I made to Julia Rachel de la Mare. That took several days. Unstitching, I think it feels like it takes longer to unstitch something than it takes to stitch something. And then the retarding that I did, figuring that out, and then putting it all back together, that took some time too. And I felt like putting her in timeout, but I felt like also that if I put her in timeout, it would be harder to come back to her and do that. So I needed to get her taken care of and get her back to a place where I was excited about working on her again. So now I want to go forward with the giveaway winner from last episode. I had a wonderful viewer of this FlossTube and a follower of mine on Instagram reach out to me with the kit for the Barbara Anna Four Seasons pattern. Now that we've talked about it in the past, and we'll be talking about it. I'm going to really spend a little more time next video talking about it. But that is a chart that Somi, Sarah, and I are going to start a stitch along for in December of 2024. We're going to begin on the solstice, which is December, I wrote it down, December 21st. And I had somebody reach out to me that had the original kit for that. It's fallen out here. It came in this beautiful tube, and all the bits are in there that you need to make this. All the floss, the chart is in here, the fabric is in here, and I did a giveaway. I asked you all, and here's the design. This is by Barbara Anna, the Four Seasons. And I asked you all to, in your comments last time, to use the word season and to be entered for the giveaway. And so I do have a winner, and that is Carol Evans, at Carol Evans 3021. And I'm going to put that up here on the screen. Carol Evans, 3021. You are the winner of that kit for Barbara Anna Four Seasons. If you will email me at my email that's in the description box below, send me your mailing address, and I will get this out to you so that you will have it and be able to start with Sarah and I and anybody else who wants to stitch with us starting in December. And like I said, I'll talk about that more in the next video because we'll be closer to it. I'm going to have to make a decision on what fabric I'm going to start with, because I've told you before, I think what I am going to do is to change the background color for each of these girls. I'm not going to stitch on one piece of linen. I'm going to stitch on 4 different ones and have 4 different colored backgrounds. And we'll start with winter, although if you don't want to work on the winter one, you don't have to, but I'm going to start with the winter one. Here's the image that I got off of the internet. And I'm going to make a decision on what fabric I'm going to use for mine. So again, the giveaway winner is at Carol Evans 3021. Please get in touch, and this will be on its way to you so that you'll be ready to stitch the Four Seasons with us. So I had a little bit of stash enhancement, and then I got what I'm gonna say is some extreme happy mail. So first we'll start with the stash enhancement that I ordered that I knew was gonna be coming. And first of all, I've got my Color and Cotton October Thread Club. I get the 5 skeins. These are what I got. So this is a beautiful kind of purpley, dark gray with purple overtones. It's called Yale. Then this one is Jujube. Wintertide, beautiful teal. Mulberry. And lavender gray. Some gorgeous colors from Color and Cotton. That was my October thread club from them. I know they have a variety of clubs that you get different colors with. That's the just all what they call the all colors thread club. And then I had pre-ordered, and I know you've been seeing this on a lot of people's floss tubes. This is a Stitch Folk bag. Barry of Stitch Folk did a pre-order on these tomato bags. And I had totally forgot that I had ordered this. I got the notification that something was shipping from Stitch Folk, and I thought, what's Barry sending me? I didn't remember this. And then finally I thought, oh yeah, I remember, it's the tomato bag. So it's nice to have another one of Barry's bags. And I'm probably not going to be a bag collector like some of you are. I love, the ones that I do have. But I also don't mind using the Amazon bags that I have. This one has a really nice, I think that's, I don't know if that's Blackbird sampler fabric inside, but it has a nice sampler fabric, green inside. Beautiful. This one I'm pretty sure is Blackbird design. The other one probably is too. That's from Barry. And then I'm moving my pin cushion. I told you about that because we're talking Stitchy kindness. I had one of I think she's a channel viewer, maybe even an Instagram follower, email me and said she wanted to send me something. And not just something, she was offering me the letters from Europe, all the charts from Nicola Parkman's, the famous red box that Nicola Parkman came out with for her 60th birthday in 2023. And this viewer, her name is Sally, offered to send me that. I was flabbergasted at that offer. I thought, oh my gosh, how completely generous. Of course I said yes, because I stitched Mathilde, and someone loaned me that chart. Now I own it because it's here now. But there were some other samplers that were in that box that I really would have liked to stitch, but I didn't think I ever would be able to. Well, now I can. And so they came, but and so I'm going to just get them over here. And I didn't get the red box. Sally said she didn't send it because she thought the charts were what I was looking for, not necessarily the box. So they're here. Now this is not the box they came in. I put them in here just so I could keep them all together because the shipping box was a little bit bigger. And so I've got, moving some things around. So here's what she sent me. This is the card that came with the box. Now, some of you have seen these maybe, and I'm showing them because some of you may never have seen these before. So Nicola Parkman put out this special box as a gift that she was sharing with everyone for her 60th birthday. And she did charts that she called Letters from Europe. She kind of took the stitcher on a cruise, if you will, around Europe, and with venturing off into different countries with some charts that she had that were from those particular countries. So this card, I'll set the charts down, came with it, and it just kind of describes the whole journey that she is taking you on. So I love that image that Nicola uses for Hands Across the Sea. Just looking at the back, it just says Letters from Europe, Travel Projects for Summer of 2023, Hands Across the Sea Samplers. And then there, I've got these, I put these in order. All of these little booklets for these samplers. And so Sally, wonderful Sally, sent me every one of them. There's Mathilde, so I now have her. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then the last one was this special one, which you can actually get this one now from Hands Across the Street, Hands Across the Sea. This is Alice Tippett. This was just a gift that Nicola included, and she's made this one publicly available. Unfortunately, these other ones are not publicly available. They were just part of this box. And sometimes you can find them on the secondary market. I've seen them in stash unload groups. I think I saw one once on eBay because I have looked. And then also what Sally sent me was there was one of Nicola's dish towels came with this. And this is the popular sampler, image from the sampler, Sarah Milthorpe. And this is a dish towel. But if you look at it close, it looks like it's stitching. So I might see, I'm not sure that I would use it as a dish towel. I know Nicola has sometimes said in her videos that she uses her dish towels to lay over the top of her stitching that's in progress. I use some of my mom's dish towels for that purpose. So we'll see. I might use this. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if has anybody made a project bag out of this particular dish towel? If so, I'd love to know how you did it and see. So that is the Hands Across the Sea box that Sally told me she was going to send me. But when I opened the box from Sally, it wasn't just that. You guys, look at all this other stuff she sent me. That's why I said this was extreme Stitchy kindness. She sent me 3 more Hands Across the Sea charts. I've got Emily Wildhack, Rachel Sheard, and Ellen Barber. This one I'm excited to stitch. Sally stitched this one, and she included her leftover DMC threads. So I've got that. She sent me some other charts and some threads, but one of the things I have to say that I was really excited to see, she sent me some linen, and not only just some linen, Lakeside. A piece of Lakeside linen that everybody loves. Lakeside linen. I'm anxious to see why. I've never stitched on it before. But this is 40 count Meadow Rue. Thank you, Sally. Man, Lakeside linen. That is a generous gift. She sent me some silk, red silk. 3 different colors of red silk. Some Lady Dot Creates trim. Some, she called them a few little extras. This is more than a few little extras, Sally. Some Thread Milk Designs, thread drops. These are just some little cards. Maybe it's to make your own thread drops from. I should hold it right side up. It's a beautiful piece of stitching with a floral vase of flowers on it. So there are several of those. And then these stickers that are from Kathy Barrick Designs to put on the back of your stitching. Look at all of those. Those are really pretty. Little snippets of samplers with room for, you know, who made the piece, when you completed it, what it was, the title of it, and so forth. So there's that. And yet there's more. Several other charts, Scarlet House, Heartstring Samplery. This one I've not, this is a La-Di-Da. That's a nice sampler. interested in that one. There's a Fox and Rabbit exclusive in here. Kathy Barrick, this Fox and Rabbit that has, I think this was a recent one from a retreat they were giving. Victorian Rose Needle Arts. So, Sally, thank you so much. I'm overwhelmed by the generosity here. And I know when I'm watching YouTubers, I often think, oh, I have something I'd like to send to them, or I see them showing things that people send to them, and you don't have to. Let me just tell you right now, I derive pleasure from sharing with you all. I get a lot out of the exchange that we're having. I don't need stuff. However, this is some amazing stuff. So thank you. Thank you, Sally, for sharing this with me. And I'm so excited to have the opportunity. I don't have a lot of Hands Across the Sea charts. I'm not a collector of them like some of you are. And it's not that I don't like them or anything like that. I do. I just haven't gotten there yet. As I said, I'm still new enough at this cross-stitch game, hobby, the new way of cross-stitching in these most recent years, the overdyed flosses, the silk, the beautiful linens. This is all like kid in a candy store new to me. And so it's just still new to me. So having something like this now available to me to select from and just see what it is that I want to stitch. Because I'm just learning along with a lot of you what I like, what my preferences are, what I'm learning about as I go along, learning about samplers, and I'm starting to understand now some regional differences in the British samplers, and I haven't even scratched the surface or touched American samplers yet. I know there's a lot to be learned about samplers. That's kind of my jam generally, but I like other things too. So there's a lot for me to explore, and there'll be a lot that I'll be able to share with you about that. So anyway, that's my enhancement, stash enhancement, and stitchy kindness. So again, thank you so much to Sally for that. I have a couple of FlossTubes, some things I want to recommend, and then talk about some plans yet. So I just saw night before last a video, and I've talked about this gal before. Travels with Tricia is the name of the FlossTube. And Tricia is a sampler historian, I believe. Nonetheless, she's an expert on samplers. And she was doing a walkthrough of an exhibition at Witney Antiques in the UK. And this one is an exhibition that they have put together of 17th century needlework. And she was with the owner of Witney Antiques, Rebecca Scott, who had collected all of these amazing pieces of needlework from the 17th century. Now, it's not just that Witney Antiques has, but this is the special exhibition of 17th century needlework. And it's, if you're at all interested in historical needlework, I would definitely recommend the latest episode of Travels with Tricia to look through that. It's remarkable, the stitching that has been done over the years and the expertise of the stitchers, the objects that were stitched, and just that some of this stuff survives from 400 years ago. I mean, it's really amazing. And what also was fun for me is hearing from Rebecca Scott, the owner of Witney Antiques, who, of course, I've heard her name before, but I've been hearing it most recently because she's going to be a guest speaker and presenter at Sampler Symposium in 2025. And like a lot of you, have my fingers crossed that I get into it. I didn't check right before I started filming whether or not it was announced yet if we got in. We had earlier this week was the deadline to get your email in to say that you wanted to go. And then a day or two later, we got an email from the ladies at the attic saying that they had such an overwhelming response. They were going through everything and trying to determine who was going to get a ticket, and that they would be in touch late in the week. And so as of last night, well, early this morning, I checked my email. Hadn't had anything from them yet to know, but hopefully soon. And I really want to go. And I'm sure I'll get to see some of you there if I do get a ticket too. But Rebecca Scott, like I said, of Witney Antiques is one of the presenters, along with Michelle of Mama Loves You GB. Nicola Parkman will be there. Kathleen Littleton, Cross Stitch Antiques. Vicki Jennett and her daughter-in-law Megan will be there. Trying to think if there's somebody else. If there is, I'm sorry. I don't have the list in front of me. I didn't print that out. I didn't know I was going to talk about it so much. But it's going to be kind of like British Sampling Weekend comes to the attic that weekend, which will be wonderful to be able to have that opportunity to learn from some people who we all respect as being experts in the field of samplers. So I want to thank a few people who have given me shout outs lately or mentioned me in their videos. Stephanie and Allison from Cross Stitch the Globe wished me happy birthday. So thank you ladies for that, and congratulations to you for 5,000 subscribers. That's a big milestone. Congratulations. I want to thank Erica from Fibers and Floss, Canada. She recently was talking about me because she's going to be starting Bridget. And I think she's actually the one who said she had only been thinking about doing the basket of flowers, but now she's going to probably continue on and do the whole thing. Anna from Stitch Roadies recently happened on my channel. So thank you, Anna. And she talked about me. I've been watching Anna ever since I came back to cross stitching. And I just enjoy sitting and listening to her. I think she puts out weekly FlossTubes, which I can tell you is that's a feat to do this weekly. But she just has a really casual sit down in front of the camera style of FlossTubes and talks to you about what's going on in her life. She lives in the Pacific Northwest. If you don't know Anna, I hope you'll check out Stitch Roadies and see what she's working on. She has the great good fortune of living close to an amazing needle workshop called Acorns and Threads. Would that we all could live so close to a place like that. But she will often take you there and talk about some of the things going on at Acorns and Threads. So thank you, Anna. And then Campbell from CamEcho is Stitching recently mentioned me, and Audrey from Stitch Bead. And Audrey recently put out a really great recap of the Hobby House retreat weekend. The Great British Sampler Weekend Comes to America that Nicola Parkman presented. And so if you haven't seen that, I definitely recommend that one. I know a lot of people have been talking about their experience of Hobby House, and I think we all want to go to Hobby House now after seeing some of the pictures, and maybe you've seen Nicola's walkthrough of just the wool and quilt section of the new Hobby House shop. But man, that place looks amazing. And yeah, I want to go there too. But watch Audrey's recap of that, because she showed a lot of the projects that they got and had a really nice rundown of all of the things that they did and the presenters' topics and so forth. And I do have a couple of new FlossTubes I have watched and want to recommend you see. The first one is called The Story Stitcher. Her name is Joanne. Now, Joanne has only been on FlossTube since August, and she has 4 videos. She is a very new stitcher. She's only been stitching for a few months, like a couple of months, just maybe started right before she started FlossTube. But she the story stitcher name comes from the fact that she's an author. She said she writes inspirational romance novels, and she's written 13 books. Wow. Good on you, Joanne. And she's just recently discovered cross-stitching. And so her FlossTube is really about her beginning journey and learning about cross-stitching and learning what she's liking, learning what fabric she likes. Some of the charts that she's picking up might not be some that you have seen, or maybe you have, but she just recently went to the attic for the first time. Boy, I can't even imagine being a completely new stitcher and then going to the attic. Mind blown, right? If you've never been, or if you have been, I think your mind still gets blown when you go to the attic. And so I would recommend giving Joanne a look if you want to follow along with her as she discovers cross-stitching and what it's going to be like for her, what she's going to learn about herself by doing cross-stitching. And then a young stitcher named Abby, and her channel is called Pansy Stitches, and I'll link both of these gals below. But Abby is from Canada, and she has recently graduated from university. So she's young, and the reason I bring her up is because, first of all, she has 2 videos. I enjoyed them, but I think it's refreshing to see someone that young who is entering this hobby that some of us have known about for so long, and she's just coming into it, and she'll discover it in a completely different way than those of us who have been stitching for quite a few years, who have been exposed to stitching all the way back, and how it has evolved and what she's going to like doing. And she's also Abby has already discovered that she likes doing some of her own linen dyeing, and she's been playing with different kinds of fabric with Aida and linen and figuring out what count size she likes, what threads she likes. So, like I said, refreshing to see a younger stitcher. And if you have kids or grandkids who kind of look at you when you're cross-stitching and think, boring, or what the heck, that, would that be really something I would want to do? Or they are stitching but feel like they don't have anybody who is relatable to them, I would recommend Abby's videos, because I think those are going to be some to watch. So that's Abby, Pansy Stitches. So now just a little bit of plans to share with you. Obviously, I'll continue to stitch on Bridget and Julia and Antoinette. I'm promising Antoinette some time for sure. The Barbara Anna 4 Seasons stitch along that we talked about earlier. I will be picking a fabric for that, which I'll show you next time. That will be starting in December, so you still have time. That chart's available through Ko-Fi shop that you can get a link to at Barbara Anna's Instagram. I always put a description of how to get that in my description box of my FlossTube, so I'll have that information again. And then I want to also bring up, I mentioned this last time, but I want to bring it up again, is the stitch along that's going to be starting in January of 2025 in the Facebook group called Across the Pond Stitch-In Chat. I've talked about this group in nearly every video, just because these people are all friends of mine now, because I've been involved with it for a while. But not only is it a Facebook group, but we have a monthly Zoom call, and it's really fun to be online and see what people in other countries are doing. It's hosted by a gal named Angie, who is the Tiny House Stitcher, and Marie of Stitches and Diamonds. And I was talking about Marie because she and her husband recently started a hand-dyed linen business called Swan Bay Fabrics. They have now launched their fabric line. They're available on their website, just launched October 14th. to great excitement. I know Marie was very happy about the reception that she's gotten and all of the orders that they got. And Marie recently also hosted the retreat Stitch in London that takes place over 2 weekends in the spring and in the fall. So Marie's a busy lady, but she and Angie host our Stitch Across the Pond, or excuse me, Across the Pond Stitch and Chat Facebook group and Zoom group. And Sarah of Somi Sarah, who I think now I'm just going to call her the queen of stitch-alongs, she's organized a stitch-along for that group. And that is going to be a la-di-da chart. And I showed it to you last time. I'm going to pull it out of the Penny and Tunny bag. I have this one in. This is the chart that we're going to be doing. It's called One Stitch at a Time. And this has mostly fancy flosses, weeks. They're all weeks with the exception of one Classic Colorworks and one DMC. Those are the called for flosses. And the reason I'm bringing it up again is because Sarah just posted on our Facebook group how she's going to be running this stitch along. It's going to be assignment stitching, which I know is kind of becoming a popular way to go through a stitch along, especially when people are involved in a lot of different stitch alongs. Having it broken down, having your design broken down in manageable chunks can be helpful. So you can kind of see on this photocopy that it's divided up. And this is going to be starting in January of 2025. So that's why I wanted to bring that up again. Please join the Facebook group. Get the chart. If you don't want to belong to the Facebook group, well, that's the only way to really participate in the stitch along with us. And you don't even have to participate in the Facebook group, but just join it so you can see what we're doing, people's progress. It's inspirational. There's not a ton of chit chat there. It's not what I would consider a terribly active Facebook group, but it's a really nice community. And that's how you find out about when the Zoom chats are and how to sign up for those. That all comes through that Facebook group. So that is Across the Pond Stitch and Chat. I'm just going to check my notes and make sure I've told you everything that I want to tell you about today. I think I have. So I do have a poem that I want to read to you today. So I guess I can say that I've come to the conclusion of usual FlossTube content. So if you are going to leave me now, not sticking around for the poem, that's totally fine. Always your choice to do, but I do want to thank you for being here with me today and spending time with me, and thank you just for your support and for being here. I do appreciate you. If you're staying, I'm going to read a poem, and I think it's something that's really meaningful for the times that we're in. Not only, well, I mentioned that it's been a roller coaster 3 weeks for me. Some really ups in this past week. A couple of really challenging things have happened. The details of which I don't think are necessarily important, but I always try and be as transparent and authentic as possible to you all. And I know in social media and on YouTube videos and everything, we can often feel like everybody lives a beautiful, wonderful life that nothing bad ever happens in. But that's not necessarily true. And it's a challenging time around the world right now because wars are going on. And if you're in the United States, you know, we're getting close to presidential election, and the rhetoric and misinformation and all of it it's hard to know what's real and what's not. And our community is real. How we feel is real. Our stitching is real. How our stitching makes us feel, giving us comfort, that's real. And so I chose a poem today. It just came to me this week when I was looking for something to bring me a little peace at a challenging time. And it came to mind, this poem, and I thought it might be helpful for you too. I hope so. So let's take a few deep breaths and just settle into your chair. And if you're stitching, keep stitching and just listen. Or if you'd prefer to put your stitching down and just breathe along and maybe close your eyes and settle into your body, settle into the present moment. I'm going to read a piece written by a poet and author and farmer, Wendell Berry. This is called The Peace of Wild Things. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. That's The Peace of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. So I wish for you some peace today as you're stitching, as you're listening, as you're enjoying autumn, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, or whatever weather or place or time that you're in right now. Thank you so much for being here with me today, for sharing with me today, for going along, learning, listening about my stitching, my journey. I hope that it's inspired you in some way. Thank you again. Thank you for being with me. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.